Hey folks, this is a beautiful, welcome to you on this, Panuka Farm YouTube channel. And in case this is your first time here, this is Mr. Panuka, who's the CEO and founder of Panuka Farm, which is based right here in the outskirts of Lusaka, which is the capital of, Zambia. All right, so what we do on this platform is to just share, information about, farm setup. This is for small holdings to kind of commercial, farm holdings. So that's what we try and do, because one of the realizations, even for us when we started, our small farm here 4 years ago, was that it was actually quite, difficult for us to find contextual information about different things, from water, electricity and the like. So we try by all means to actually provide this, information for those that would want to get into farming, so that they don't have to start, from scratch. Okay. Now today we're going to discuss about electricity. We actually know that electricity is actually very, very critical for you when you're starting a farm. Ranges from water pumping, lighting, and the like. But when you look at the statistics from a Zambian perspective, you actually realize that national electrification is around 31%. Of course, with different statistics flying around from different literature. And when you look at rural electrification, it's around 4.4 to about 11%. And of course, with varying statistics again from different literature sources. Now, one of the things that is actually quite obvious is that most of these small holdings, even if you want to start one, they're actually based in rural areas, which are not connected to the grid. Okay, but that does not mean that you cannot farm. Okay, obviously there are different energy sources that you can actually look at. In the case of Zambia, abundant energy resources in terms of hydropower, biomass, solar. There's also wind. And in certain cases, there's also, geothermal. So those are some of the, options that you can actually, look at in terms of off-grid, power solutions. So today, we want to look at, solar power. This is one of the, renewable energy, technologies that has actually been discussed quite, elaborately here in Zambia. But despite that, we actually still see quite a lot of people that are very skeptical about the prowess of, solar power on the farm. And again, this is from our own real experience. People are so skeptical about solar, saying, well, solar cannot work. It can only do when you're doing very small production areas. So we want to try and see if we can debunk that myth, as we call it. And the only way we can do that is actually to get on, Panuka Farm, so that we do a farm tour and see how we've managed, on the farm to deploy, solar power, different, use. And after that tour, I hope you'll be able to answer whether solar, power really does work, for small holding farms, and indeed even larger, commercial, setup. So let's get on the farm and catch me on the other side, for me to actually give you, further tidbits on how you can avoid making mistakes, buying, fake, solar, so that you get it right, from the word go. So let's get on the farm. So we're now on the farm. So this is water pump number 1, that is 100%, run on solar. And what you see is that we actually don't have, storage. So from the solar panels, we pump straight, into the tungsten that will actually show you much later. But one thing that you should actually be able to see now is that these are just 4 panels, okay? But they're actually able to run about 1, horsepower, solar pump. So these are 290 watts each, 4 of them, about 1,160, watts in terms of specifications. So just 4 of them. So take note of that. This is water pump number 2 at Panuka Farm, again, that runs on solar. So this one is an electric pump, hybrid, again, no storage. So we can run solar and actually hook either, a genset. So that's the design. And both of these, systems are actually about 4 years old without any issues and still working just as fine. Okay, so again, pick some lessons that they can actually be this durable if you get it right. From the word go. Okay, so this is the design of this system in terms of specs. These are 100 watts times 12. That's about 1,200 watts, and those are the specs. This is Suntech in terms of the brand. So one thing that you should actually be able to see is that from this pump, we are actually able to pump water, about 400 meters to the overhead tank and take it about 6, to 7 meters up. So if you're still doubting about, solar, this is exactly, how we use it, and you can see it goes all the way to the, greenhouse, complex, and takes water right there at the tank stand, which is about 400 meters away. This is water pump number 3. This is on 5 hectares, by the way. We've got about 4, water pumps. And this one is actually the largest that we have. It's about 2,400, watts. So it's hybrid, can also accommodate, a genset. And this one that's 300 watts, times 8. That's 2,400, watts. Okay, in terms of the size. So that's just how busy it looks. Also has a changeover switch in case we're actually connecting to a genset. Okay, so all these systems that we've so far shown you are actually quite interlinked. And one thing is that previously actually this same pump used to pump this 1 hectare down here that you're actually seeing. So quite a very prolific one. Now we're on to water pump number 4. This one is actually managing a commercial borehole. It's about 104 meters in terms of depth, and this is 100% solar. So again, if you get it right, so these are 270 watts times 8. That's 2,160 watts, and it's actually able to irrigate over a hectare of crops, and it also runs the rain hoses. So you actually see this is a Suntech. We had another one which is a Suntech product. So one thing you actually see is that I actually took a shot at the long distance for you to actually see where it's domiciled, and look at the area that it's actually able to service. This is over a hectare. We can actually irrigate using that just one system over this area. This is over 200 meters in terms of distance, and here we actually irrigate these portions using a rain hose, which actually requires quite a lot of pressure. So it's actually able to do it. This is zucchini squash that you actually see in the pictures, and we have no issues. Of course, you can actually see patches of water collecting from the rains. It's been raining quite heavily of late, so we are able to actually irrigate all these portions. This is also some portion of sweet corn that is irrigated. Now what we've done is that a number of these boreholes do actually take water to this overhead tank, but one critical issue about solar is that you need to be a bit more efficient in the way you use solar power. You cannot use solar power double. You pump water from the borehole, you take it overhead, and then you've got to pump it again into the field. So what we do is that we pump water once into this overhead tank, and then so what is critical is that your tank must be over 6 meters. This is Panuka Farm 2 now. We're actually making it about 11 meters because we want maximum pressure. The one that you're actually seeing here at Panuka Farm 1 is just about 6. So at Panuka Farm 2, it's actually about 11 meters. We want to make sure that we've got maximum pressure in terms of water. So again, these are some of the crops that are managed by these solar systems. So again, it's all about the way you design it. Like we just indicated, you can actually do a mix where you pump straight into the fields. Like actually this section we pump straight into the field. It doesn't go into the overhead tank. So this is sweet corn also. Some of the beautiful crops that we have on Panuka Farm, serviced by solar. So again, in case you're still doubting, you can actually see how much we are able to do using solar power. So like I was saying earlier, part of the water you can actually direct it up into the tank, so that then you use gravity to irrigate. And then in certain section, you just go with direct, pumping. But what is very critical is that all your water, sources must actually be so that just in case you've got a section that doesn't have water, you can actually, utilize, the other borehole on the other side. So this is on 5 hectares. We've got water, points, which are 4 of them, all interlinked. This is from a risk management perspective. So here is the sweet corn that is just, getting ready, and we'll actually be harvesting pretty soon. So again, this just, goes to further show you that you can still do it with, solar power. It's got quite a lot of limitless, potential. So again, we actually use the same solar power to service our, greenhouse, complex. We actually, irrigate using solar. We also use it, for fertigation in terms of, fertilizing all these, greenhouses. So again, that just goes to show you the potential of solar. This is sweet pepper, the green in open field. Again, this is all serviced, by solar on the other unit of, the farm. So it's all about design, how you set up your farm in such a way that you can actually integrate the different, water sources so that solar turns out to actually be very effective for you. So this is strawberries on drip, again serviced by solar. So this again we're just showing you so that you actually see how far you can actually use solar. And I don't know whether in your case this is small scale or commercial, whatever the case, you can actually see that you can still do something with solar power. Of course, cost is one issue, but you need to look at, in our case in Zambia, the reliability of on-grid power from ZESCO. So here again, you actually see that this is the system that we use, Offgrid solar system, to power our offices. And you actually see other, uses quite shortly. So this is where now you can actually store, power, not necessarily for water, but for office use and other uses. So this is just rooftop solar that we have, which actually powers, those, batteries. We have about 24, panels here. So again, here, this is the farm cold storage that is also run on solar power. So again, just showing you the different, possibilities with solar. And now here we are in the chicken run. Again, what you actually see is that we use, stored power in those batteries that we just showed you, to light up the chicken run. Remember, this place needs to be lit for most of the day, at least about 16 hours. So we do that early in the morning, and of course extending the day to make sure that you have productive, beds. If you're doing broilers, of course that's 24/7 power, but solar would actually still be able to, work for you. And given the extended, use, in terms of chicken run, it actually turns out to be cheaper in the long run, given that you don't have to pay bills. You only, rely on the sun. So you can actually see pretty much, we use, solar, water pumping, in the chicken run, pretty much everything that we actually want to use in terms of electricity, we're able to do that with solar. So it's just some of the eggs, we just pick them up. So again, just extending, the potential of solar. When it comes to, security lights, the floodlights, again, we're running them on solar. Like you actually see, we actually provide, lighting to our greenhouse, complex, so that, in the night, you can actually see quite easily. So what more can you actually ask, about, the prowess of solar after all that? So welcome back, and I hope you had a very, juicy, farm tour to just look at what solar power can actually do on a farm of a similar scale, like Panuka Farm. So the tour that we just did is on a 5-hectare, Panuka Farm 1. So again, from a very realistic perspective, scale, I think does matter in these kind of decisions, and also in terms of deployment of solar. Of course, beyond a certain, level of, scale in terms of production, probably it might be a bit too, expensive. But I think, it will still be a very good combination with other, technologies, and also as an addition to, grid power, just in case you're lucky enough to be connected to the grid. But otherwise, if we're talking about, small scale, farming up to maybe 10 to 20 hectares, solar power can actually still do, you justice. So it's actually quite a very good technology that you could deploy on the farm. Now, one of the things that we've actually seen is that we recently actually had a case study of this farmer who says, well, I've got, 24, panels, but those 24 panels are actually failing to pump, even 1.5, horsepower, pump. And so those are actually very common, mistakes that we actually see with people that embark on solar for the first time. And unfortunately, when you have such an experience, you actually tend to become, one of those that will say, well, solar does not work. Okay, so how do you get it right? One of the first things that will actually indicate is that you need to avoid making decisions based purely on a calculator, on your wallet. Okay, there are certain times you just say, well, I just need a system of so much, but not necessarily based on your needs. Okay, you've got a 10-hectare farm, and you want to irrigate all of it, but you say, well, I'm just going to get a system that is $1,000 or something like that. Okay, I mean, it will fail, because you're actually not being driven by your needs, but by the limits of your pocket. So you need to make sure that you do what we call multi-criteria decision making, where of course the limits of your ability in terms of finances, but also the ability of that system to actually serve you. So it's about the efficacy of that system. Okay. And one other big issue is that you need to consult experts. There are people who run these farms who think they know everything. Okay, so very little room to actually consult experts, in these fields. And we're talking about real experts, because we also have what we call quacks. So be careful about quacks, and there are plenty of them out there. So make sure that you actually consult real experts in solar, and they will actually be able to help you in terms of design. Okay. Now, one of the things also in terms of the water pumping systems, because I know one of the questions now is, oh, how much is this system? You'll be asking Mr. Panuka, can this system work for me, and things like that. Let me tell you that how you go about doing this is that when you do, drill a borehole, you expect any notable, driller to actually give you a borehole report. So that is the starting point. When you have a borehole, report, you actually take it to a reputable solar dealer, and they'll actually ask about, that, drilling report, because what they want to actually see is the amount of water that is coming from that borehole, the recharge, per second, and also how much water you yourself need. So the kind of system that you require, which they will actually design, is actually based on that, borehole report. So you don't ask Mr. Panuka to say, well, this is my borehole, how big should my system be? It should actually be driven by that borehole report. So if you go to a supplier of solar and they never ask about such information, be skeptical. Where they're just going to give you a system without asking you how much water you need and the performance of your borehole, those are actually potential red flags. So make sure that you've got that borehole report, and hopefully you actually go to a vendor that will ask and design a system that is actually responsive to the borehole based on the drilling report. So that's very, very critical information. Well, I hope this has been very juicy information for you. And if you're actually looking at putting up solar at the farm, this should actually be a very good beginning point. Just take note of some of these tidbits that we've provided, and you're actually going to get it right. In our case, working perfectly fine. It's been 4 years now, and we don't have any issues with these systems. Of course, we'll actually be doing now an addition of other renewable energy technologies using biomass from the farm, like chicken manure, and of course some of the remains from our vegetable gardens. So with renewable energy, it's all about a mix of different technologies, but you can actually still do it, but one thing at a time. But it works. Okay, so from Mr. Panuka here at Panuka Farm, have a lovely one, and we love you. And please remember to hit that subscribe button on the Panuka YouTube channel, so that you continue to get these juicy tidbits. Have a lovely one. Bye-bye.